record. Okay, live on Facebook. Continue. Let's see.
I think we're live.
Okay, all right. Ruth, are we live?
Yes.
Ruth is helping out here. Okay, everybody, and welcome to the extra special Barbara Stanwyck Christmas Spectacular today. I've got frequent Hollywood guests and friends, Danny Miller,
Hello.
his son Charles Miller,
Hello.
and Lara Gabriel joining us from Zoom from San Francisco. And we have a special surprise guest who is going to join us at the halfway mark in today's episode. So, guys, this is going to be so much fun. We're going to talk about Barbara's life, her career, her Christmas movies, her food. But first off, some fans asked me to give them an introduction to the star when we start off the episode. So, guys, if you had to tell someone who didn't know, tell us about Barbara Stanwyck. What are the main things you would want people to know about her?
Who starts?
She could do it all. Drama, comedy, from the late 1920s till the 80s. I mean, my God, what couldn't she do? She did amazing pre-code, she did noirs. The only thing I wouldn't necessarily put her in would be musicals, but then she sings and dances in several films too, and it's so fun. Laura, how would you describe her?
Yeah, I would describe her as an incredibly versatile performer, a very generous human being, and an actor with a career that really has no parallel. I mean, like what Danny said about her having a career from the 20s through the 80s. She made her debut in 29 and went all the way up to almost the year she died, and was always good from the very beginning to the very end.
She's a favorite in our house and of my son, who's wearing his.
Charles, show everybody your t-shirt. You want to walk toward the screen and show a nice close-up of Charles's t-shirt.
He's got a mask too that says Barbara Stanwyck Fan Club. I would say that Barbara Stanwyck got us through the pandemic. You can sit down now, Charles. We watched over a dozen of her films.
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
I think my favorite was the first one we watched, Ball of Fire.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a great
Yeah.
Irreplaceable O'Shea, what 12-year-old wouldn't want to?
I was 11 then.
11,
Yeah.
okay. And Lady Eve, and we really got into her pre-codes.
Oh,
I
love
loved
the pre-codes.
Illicit, Night Nurse even, which was totally whack.
Yes.
And then later films like The Furies, and of course Double Indemnity. I mean, there's so many. Where do we
So
begin?
many.
Yeah, I have something funny to say about Night Nurse. Night Nurse is hilarious, I think, because she and Joan Blondell just gratuitously undress like 5 times in the first half an hour.
It's so true.
It's just like, it's so amazing for them to be getting out of their clothes right now, but they're like randomly getting undressed. Like,
But-
okay, this is a pre-code.
Totally. I must say her 2 Christmas films, Christmas in Connecticut, we love so much. We watched it twice, like nowhere near Christmas. And Remember the Night, so fabulous.
I adore, and I have some things to say about Remember the Night. I don't know if we want to do that now or if we want to do that later, but
Well, we can, one of the things we're gonna make today, which we're gonna start with, is the popovers, because the popover recipe wasn't technically attributed to Barbara, but she talks about making popovers in Remember the Night. And so maybe we'll start off doing that, and I'll make the popovers, and while I'm stirring, Laura, you can share your thoughts on the Remember the Night.
sure, yeah. I think that Remember the Night is a really underrated movie. Not a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people know Christmas in Connecticut, but not a lot of people know Remember the Night. And there's a lot to it. It's a movie with a lot of different layers. It's got drama, it's got comedy, it's got all kinds of different things genre-wise, but also it has this really amazing psychological undertone. This idea that somebody who has committed a criminal act is not they don't bear the entire responsibility, that she had a mother who essentially ignored her for her entire childhood, and that might have shaped who she became, and it's not necessarily her fault entirely that she started doing what she did in the movie.
She's a product of her.
Yeah, it's very modern. It's very and unusual, I think, for a movie in the early 40s.
Well, you found me. Let's start the poppers, and while I'm stirring, we can get into more about that movie. Laura, you found me this popover recipe, and appropriately enough, it is from the Photo Play cookbook of the late 1920s, also ran in Photo Play magazine. And it's attributed to Dorothy McHale, who was also a pre-code star at the same time as Barbara Stanwyck. If you guys haven't seen her pre-code Safe in Hell, which is one of the best movie titles ever, it is available on the Warner Archive. And for the popovers, what we're going to need is a scant cup of flour. I don't know what scant really means. Here.
Not one bit more, just a scant cup of flour.
Scant. So the scant
Pre-sifted.
cup of flour.
What I took that to mean, it's like just a little bit less than a cup. Like that's kind of what I did for mine.
Scant is a word that's kind of fallen out of our vernacular, along with many of the ones.
It has. So I got me a cup of flour. We got 1 cup of milk right here.
A scant cup of milk.
Scant cup of milk. Okay, 2 eggs that are already whipped. Again, thank you so much, Danny, for your excellent prep skills here.
Well, that was actually me.
Oh, it was you, Charles. Thank you, Charles. And then we've got 1/4 teaspoon of salt. That's already in here. And then 1 teaspoon of melted butter. So, oh, it's a little hard here now, but that's okay. Now she talks about how you have to stir it for 5 minutes exactly. I don't know that we have to, but I think it's a good excuse to talk about the movie while I'm stirring.
Yeah. I've been calling this Dorothy McHale's aggressive popover recipe because she says you have to start for 5 minutes, no cheating.
Which frankly is the opposite of most recipes of this time period that are like, put it in a hot oven, they never tell you how long.
Yeah, well, she also says a very hot oven. Because there were no temperature readings on the ovens back then. So,
and I have an oven from back then, and I don't care, it follows that rule because it's like 100 degrees off, so we use a thermometer.
Yeah.
But while I'm stirring, Laura, one thing that stays with me about Remember the Night is the tenderness of that movie. Tenderness is not a quality you see in a lot of films. And I find that you see a lot of that in Mitchell Leisen films. And I think he is a very underrated director. People don't really talk about him that much. The UCLA Film Archive did a retrospective of his work a few years ago. And I was so grateful for that because he seldom gets brought up in conversation,
Yeah.
And
it really is.
Does Beulah Bondi ever not rip your heart out of your body? I love that woman, and she's so great in that.
Yeah, and one thing, there are many things that I love about that movie, but I agree with you, Carrie, that it's very, very tender. And that one scene where Barbara Stanwyck is sitting or standing, I guess, beside the piano, and she sees the photo on the piano, and she's sort of taking everything in, and you can see that she's thinking like, this is what a family looks like. Because she's never had that in her life.
Right.
And it's just so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So painful, that scene when she goes to see her mother. Oh.
And her mother just rejects her. Yeah, and you can see, that this is where a lot of her character comes from.
Another thing that you said about Barbara Stanwyck thinking, to jump to an earlier non-Christmas movie, but an equally awesome one, is a Babyface. When Mike Michon at the Library of Congress found those missing scenes from Babyface and the outtakes and such? The scene where the old man is kind of telling her, take what you want, and he's kind of giving her all this advice.
Yeah.
The look on her face, the intensity with which she is soaking up everything he has to say. Just those outtakes are like a master class in acting, I feel.
Yeah, and there are so many scenes throughout Barbara Stanwyck's career that you could say that about. The one that I think about all the time is a scene in The Thornbirds where she talks about old age.
Oh.
And vengeful God who ruins our bodies with leaving us with only enough wit for regret. And she's emoting just so much, and that is a total masterclass in acting, I think, that moment.
And jumping to the end of her career, which that one is, I read that the entire crew burst into applause after that scene, and the one where she tells Richard Chamberlain that she loves him even if she is aged, because inside she's still young. And oh my God, I mean,
Yeah.
she's the greatest actress. And just to say this once, the fact that she won an honorary Oscar in the 80s, but the fact that she never won, I mean, Kendall and I were talking, my wife, and I think it's probably a large part because she was never under contract with the studio. They were not.
Right. There was never a vote for Barbara Stanwyck campaign.
Which there should have been. She was nominated 5 times, and she should have won most of those, frankly.
For the 2022 Opera Kaplan, Barbara is going to factor very heavily because childhood and honorary Academy Awards will not count. So Barbara is going to be a big factor in that episode.
But you know what? It's interesting because I was thinking about that. I had read that hypothesis too about how she was never with the studio, and it made sense to me at the time. But then I was thinking about somebody like Olivia de Havilland, who won Oscars for movies that she was not under contract to a studio for. So I think that maybe
happened one night. You're right.
Yeah. But it's just such a shame that she never won. I think part of it might have also just been bad luck. The years when she was nominated in really strong categories every time.
But to me, the end of Stella Dallas, if that wasn't an Oscar, I don't know what is, because what she does in that film, especially at the end, just rips your heart out of your chest.
And at the same time, however, I would almost speculate that Barbara Stanwyck may have not gotten recognized in that way as much because her acting was so good. She didn't need a lot of histrionics. It was so subtle. It was so multi-layered that, sometimes the Academy goes for like the wow.
Over the top.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think there's some, like Cary Grant, that make it look so easy, you take them for granted. And to me, I think you don't really appreciate, at least I don't sometimes, great acting until you see really bad acting and you're like, wow, that acting thing is a lot harder than it looks, Because I think it's kind of like the Olympics, the people that are the best in the world at figure skating, gymnastics, swan dives, whatever it is, I think they make it look so easy, so effortless.
When you think of what's going on in Ball of Fire and the layers of emotion that she's outwardly presenting, but then the backstory inside, she should have gotten the Oscar for that. I forgot who won.
In an effort to make this more accessible, as we were talking about before, to people who might not know Barbara Stanwyck's career so well. Just so everybody knows, Ball of Fire is sort of an updated version of Snow White. It's this sort of burlesque person who gets, long story short, taken in by a professor, and the professor lives with these 6 other people, so it's like the 7 dwarves with this woman who they sort of take to. And anyway, it's supposed to be an updated Snow White, so just.
And the fact that Gary Cooper believably plays like this kind of geek, even though he's Gary Cooper. He's so good. They're
awesome. Good acting.
Guys, this is so darn stirred.
Dorothy, it's enough Dorothy.
I think Dorothy McHale is just going to have to be happy with what she's got here. Now, I ordered a popover pan just for this episode. So
I have that pan. You could have saved it.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
I don't have a popover pan, so I'm using cupcake tins, which I think might not work so well, but we'll see.
We'll see. So I'm going to spoon the popover stuff in here. And for those of you watching who have never seen Remember the Night or Christmas in Connecticut, those are really must-see Christmas movies. They're fantastic. And I really hope that you will all seek them out on Turner Classic Movies on DVD and check out these incredible films.
Excellent.
Yes. So
should we move to Christmas in Connecticut recipe?
Yeah, let me finish pouring the batter into the. I'm sorry if I made a mess, Danny. I will clean it up after the episode.
If there's no mess in your kitchen, you're not cooking right.
You're not getting it right, right? Okay, so I was told you only fill the popover pan about halfway full, roughly. Some of them I did better than others, but that's okay. So we're gonna put this aside, and later on we'll show you what the final product looks
You want to
like.
put it in a very hot oven. They should poof up beautifully.
They should proof up beautifully, and it says very hot oven on here, but I read a modern day recipe for popovers that was almost exactly like this, except it had oven temperatures. And it said to put them in the oven at 450 degrees for 20 minutes and then lower it to 350 degrees for 20 minutes. But it said, do not open the oven.
Right.
Because it's almost like a souffle. If you open the
Dorothy
oven.
McHale, that's another thing that Dorothy McHale is very aggressive about in her recipe. Do not open the oven for 15 minutes.
That's right. Dorothy McHale is not messing around.
I
No,
don't see the word aggressive on a cookbook. The aggressive cookbook, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That
It
is
is.
such a great idea. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it really is.
So for Christmas in Connecticut, I'm taking the part of SC Cuddles Sakal because
Yes.
my pandemic weight gain has made me look more and more like him by the day. And he, of course, is the wonderful chef friend of Barbara Stanwyck, who comes to her aid during that film and helps her cook. And this is a Hungarian, Barbara Stanwyck's Kipfels are a Hungarian recipe, although I think it might be eaten in Germany too. You can tell us, Benjamin, in the
Benjamin, let
comments.
us know.
And it's, when I first read this recipe, I thought, Barbara, the war is over. There's no sugar, there's no eggs. But then I realized this particular one came from 1950. So I don't know, maybe that's just the way, because I've seen Kipple recipes that have yeast. And anyway, you take a cup of butter.
Oh, and by the way, I do want to mention, I got this recipe, it's been in a lot of cookbooks. There's one cookbook that's a modern one, it's called the Dead Celebrity Cookbook. It's in that one. But I got the original source, which is called Favorite Foods of Famous Stars from 1937. And I got the original cookbook and this was in it. So that's the original source for this.
You want, and look, Laura, if you've got recipe tips first in, but you want to make sure that you're using a cup of butter, which is 2 sticks of butter, and a cup of cream cheese. You must have them at room temperature. I left mine out all night because otherwise it's just gonna be a mess. I like to cut it in chunks to help it
I
get
love the
soft.
kitchen aid, that's so awesome.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a great sous chef. She's just removing off. And then
Okay, that's the cream cheese.
the cream cheese. It's actually
Okay.
kind of cool today, so it's not as.
It's actually a treat to be in Danny's house filming when it's not 100 degrees. This is
Yes,
awesome,
we did an
actually.
episode here. We were schwitzing, let me tell you.
Yeah, we did the lunch any episode, it's like 100 in here, so this is nice.
So I'm gonna, this is probably not, I won't do it that much, but because it's nice and soft. And then, this is a very simple recipe for the dough. You want to add 2 cups. Oh, I'm sorry, you also add some very thick sour cream, which adds a nice tang. Pinch of salt.
So,
That wasn't all.
No, I don't want all of it. Barbara doesn't say this, but I'm going to add just a tinge of vanilla because I think it helps.
I added a little bit of sugar.
You did put sugar in yours?
Yeah, I put sugar in mine because I was thinking this is going to be kind of bitter and weird.
I'll tell you what I did after, and many recipes do call for this, but not Barbara Stanwyck's, is after it comes out of the oven, I sprinkle powdered sugar all over it.
I sprinkled regular sugar over mine.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, won't go into too much detail, but then we're gonna add 2 cups of sifted flour, and it creates this kind of difficult to work with dough, don't you think, Laura? But you
A
must,
little bit, yeah.
you must refrigerate it for at least 3 hours. I did mine overnight.
Yeah, I did mine for 3 hours. I got up early this morning and made the dough.
Because otherwise you'll never be able to roll it out. And
Yeah.
after it's cool, here's a piece of it. It's just like this nice hard clump of dough. But again, because there's no eggs or anything in it, it's tricky. You gotta have a lot of flour on your surface and on the rolling pin. And then I already rolled out. Oh, so here's the thing. I followed the recipe exactly and did squares. And then I realized after I made them, and you'll see the ones that are finished, they're delicious, but it's kind of an abomination because it said roll it like a croissant. So I took the end. Now I realize, looking up Kipfels, if you're using a square, you should go boom, boom on either side. But I think another way to do it is to actually do it like a croissant almost. So I rolled out triangles of dough. How did you do yours, Laura?
I did squares and then I just rolled the squares.
So you didn't do left, right, you did it like I did. Okay, you'll see.
Yeah.
And then I have either, this is what Barbara Stanwyck recommends, and we know she wrote this recipe herself, apricot and raspberry jam. And you just put some on here. And then I'm going to roll it from, actually you probably put it towards the top, whatever. I'm gonna roll it, but these will make much better shaped ones than the ones I have, which we're gonna see momentarily.
Oh, I put way too much jam on there. I'm sorry. I globbed a ton of it on.
Yeah,
It's my bad.
When you put them and then it kind of just melts out. They're still delicious, and then you cover it with a little sugar.
Okay.
There's no mistakes in the kitchen, Gary.
Mine got kind of messed up in the oven, but these are sort of what mine look like.
Oh, nice. We're gonna show ours when we move to the other room. But yeah, so
Okay.
with these, you can shape them as lovely little crescents. Or you can do the boom boom on either side of the square and you have a little jam sticking out either end. Sometimes people have like the raspberry on one side, the apricot on the other. Those are fun. I remember having these, like, I think there's a Jewish pastry version of my childhood. I forgot what they were called. But if anyone has experience with actual Kipfels, let us know.
Let us know.
It
Absolutely.
reminded me a little bit of my soufganiyot experiences, with the jam in the middle and.
Right, yes, you deep fried stuff with jam already in it, which I thought would be a disaster, and you said that came out. This is little Hanukkah talk from your friendly Christmas Jews here. Tonight is the last night of Hanukkah, and Lauren, I think it's perfect.
Tonight is the last.
Yep, perfect that Jews are representing Barbara Stanwyck in Christmas because, hey,
Why not?
every Christmas carol, Jesus himself. It's the whole thing. Jews love Christmas. Oh, and there's also this great scene in Christmas in Connecticut where S.C. Sakal is trying to teach Barbara Stanwyck how to flip a pancake. She does not have, of course, if you know this film, she has presented herself as this major, like Martha Stewart-like cook. It's all, an act, but then she's being forced to prove that she is that person. And so he's coming to her aid. I would be doing a Hungarian accent if I could do one, but should we try to?
Yes, we should try it. And
Yes.
I relate to the Barbara Stanwyck character in that film because when I started Hollywood Kitchen, I did not know how to make that much stuff at all. So I have a team of Cuddles the Balls in my life from Ruth Munsack, Laura Gabriel, Danny Miller, Mary Stanford. I have a lot of people that help me behind the scenes and I love you all and I'm very grateful to you all.
But I look the most like her.
You do. I have to say that. Okay, so we got the pancake. We got the slippers.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
This is exactly what happened to Barbara Stanwyck.
On the floor.
Except hers went all over the oven. Hey, I'd still eat it.
So also for people who
How did yours go, Laura?
also for people who mine landed in the pan, thank you.
I am Cuddles Sakal here.
Also for people who haven't seen Christmas in Connecticut, the pancake lands on the ceiling before it lands on the
Right.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's all fine. It's all in the spirit of the movie if it lands.
With no end of disasters in that film. Gosh, is there anything else you want to say about that movie, Laura? Because it's just the most heartwarming. We had to watch it again right away. It's
Oh,
just
it's lovely.
such
I really love Christmas in Connecticut.
It's a beautiful, beautiful film that everyone should watch. Because again, like all Barbara Stanwyck movies, there's this like edge to it. She's a fraud. There's things happening but like there's so much heart underneath that people have flaws and we accept them.
Yeah.
The characters usually have some big flaws.
And then Remember the Night in Christmas in Connecticut are the best holiday double feature. Seriously, it's so good. Both of these.
Yeah.
Although you could watch 12 Barbara Stanwyck movies over the
Yes,
holidays. And
absolutely. Now we're going to move into the library and our special surprise guest is going to be joining us.
I have one more thing to say about Christmas in Connecticut.
Yes.
So I have a friend. I'm not sure if she's watching, but if she is, I'm gonna tell her story. She is a huge Barbara Stanwyck fan, and she said that she fell in love with with Barbara Stanwyck the moment that Barbara Stanwyck shakes hands with her fur coat in Christmas in Connecticut,
Oh,
which I think is such a great little story because you know, it sort of shows how just sort of how endearing she is, I guess.
yep.
Yeah.
Here is our final products. My misshapen Kipfels that I will do better on my next round.
Okay, I'm gonna try to get this close to the camera. These are the popovers. Mine turned out a tiny bit crispy, but that's okay. These
They're
are Danny's
beautiful.
Kipfels.
Yeah, these are mine that look incredibly misshapen and deformed. But
And Charles, I think you need to be a taste tester.
You
Yes!
have a Kipfel.
Yes, that's
I'm
right,
taking
that's
the biggest
right.
one.
He's been dying for a Kipfel all day. We have Barbara
Yes.
here in our frame.
We have Barbara right here in the frame. Now we've got a special guest, Mike Kaplan, that's going to be joining us. In 2007, it marked Barbara Stanwyck's 100-year centenary, and the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences did a gigantic poster exhibit and retrospective. It was really fantastic. And when getting ready for this episode, I thought, oh, it's Christmas, I want to be extra. So I remember that exhibit, I looked it up, and the posters were from Mike Kaplan, who is an incredible poster collector. He has got one of the most impressive collections in the country, maybe in the world. And his film posters have been on display at the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences. They've been displayed at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. And he has the largest single collection of posters ever assembled on one star. And his Barbara Stanwyck stuff is absolutely incredible. In addition to that, he's also worked as a film producer. He produced The Whales of August with Lillian Gish, Vincent Price, and Betty Davis. And he worked in motion picture advertising and collaborated with Stanley Kubrick on the advertising for 2001: A Space Odyssey, for A Clockwork Orange. He's worked with Robert Altman. So frankly, I am really amazed that he took my call and agreed to join us today. So Ruth, is he signed into Zoom?
I see he's there.
I'm gonna eat a Kipfel while we wait on Mike.
Oh, here he is.
Oh,
Hi, Mike. Oops. There you are.
Mike, hi.
Hi,
Thank you for joining us today. So I just gave you a big introduction here.
I just heard it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're delighted to have you. My mouth is full of Kipfel, excuse me.
It's a little dry.
But tell us how you first fell in love with Barbara Stanwyck films, and then what led you to your incredible collection that you have accumulated.
Well, I always loved the movies, and Barbara Stanwyck was one of my favorites. The interesting thing about the collection and collecting over the last 40 years is I've learned a lot about each individual star and each individual theme movie, even though I haven't seen a lot of the movies, because the collection is based on design and finding the best design for a film, regardless of where it was produced, which country produced it. So with Barbara Stanwyck, what I also wanted to say, I've learned a lot about film history through the posters. And with Barbara Stanwyck, there was another element as well. It was really an element of discovery, because I grew up with Barbara Stanwyck like in the 50s and the 60s, when she was mainly doing heavy dramas and Westerns and kind of tough lady themes. And I had no idea what a great comedienne she was until I saw The Lady Eve. And then I saw The Mad Miss Manton and Ball of Fire. And it's just an amazing talent that she had, that she was an equally adept comedian as she was a dramatic actress. And so I learned a lot more about her through the posters and just collecting her. And my favorite period of poster collecting is the 30s and early 40s, because that's when painting and illustration was used to create the posters, which I feel elevates a movie rather than, photography or throwing together different photographs in a haphazard way. And that's what I've done in my career as well, in the campaigns that I've done. So Barbara Stanwyck was a huge star in the 30s, which I had no idea about her career, before really The Lady Eve and Meet John Doe. And so the graphics and her portrayal and all the posters were just beautiful, and they fit into my theme for the collection of having the best poster for a movie, regardless of where it came from. So, and the designs were just beautiful, and it's a lost art, and most people have no idea what these campaigns and what these posters look like, because they're all used to today's posters, which are all basically photoshopped photographs, and the credits, which were a vital part of the posters to begin with. They're part of the artwork. Now are all slapped along the bottom in very thin lettering, which you can't read who's in the film. And so it's really for a lot of people discovering a new art form.
Can I say something real quickly, that I find it so interesting that you fell in love with Barbara Stanwyck through the visual, that you hadn't seen very many of her movies, and it was through the way she expressed herself in a still in a still medium, because when she was working, she was thought of as not a particularly beautiful woman. I think she's gorgeous, but she, she thought of herself, and the studios thought of her as not a glamour girl, and I think it says a lot about her, that she could make people, she could attract people through her looks, even though she wasn't a Hedy Lamarr, she wasn't a Lana Turner, but she had something, and I agree, she had something that came through and made people attracted to her, like you say.
Yeah, well, she wasn't the typical glamour girl, but she had a great kind of inner beauty and truthfulness that came through. And then also from the 50s, when I first, saw her in Executive Suite or on television in the Big Valley, I mean, she was tougher and almost a little bit more matronly. But when you go back to those films from the 30s, and then you see her, I mean, she's incredibly sexy in Lady Eve and Ball of Fire, and how she teases the men and taunts them, and she's real, and Babyface, of course. I mean, she is incredible. So her beauty and her sexiness came through, regardless of her not being the classic beautiful woman that was promoted during that period, like Hedy Lamarr or Lana Turner, etc. So she's just she was just an amazing talent, and I think everyone, what I've read about her, everyone who worked with her really admired her, and she had no pretensions, and she just got the work done, and that was the most important thing for her. And she loved the work, and they loved working with her, and she was an extremely admirable human being.
And also, I was thinking the other day, you had people like Edward G. Robinson, Peter Lorre, a lot of those guys too, even the men, some of them weren't the conventional movie star looks, but they were unique, and they managed to kind of channel that look and that unique persona into something really remarkable and watchable. Like, I know when a lot of them are in a movie, I kind of ignore everybody else, like they just have a way of, your eye goes to them. And so many times you see actors or stars that are very cookie cutter, and people like Barbara Stanwyck, James Cagney is another, they just had something so unique about them that just set them apart from everybody else.
Right, and that's not, we don't have many of those today, and a lot of the films were particularly tailored for them and what they could, what they convey and what their strengths were. So it was just a different period. And those great stars from that period were great actors as well, and we're lucky that we have them on film. At least.
Mike, can we take a peek at your collection? Because I got to preview it when we Zoomed the other day, but Laura, Danny, and all of our viewers are going to be really excited to see what you've got.
Okay, well, let me begin. I actually found one that I didn't show you before. The studios all had a series of actors in their stable, and they would create a series of posters just for of the stars that would be used in theaters before the films that they were going to appear in would be shown. So they could always use those images and just put the title of the film under their name if they didn't have the posters for the films themselves. And so MGM, all the studios did it for their stable of stars, but this poster of Barbara Stanwyck comes from, let me see if I can get it closer. Yeah, oh, that's good. This comes from a chain of theaters in the United Kingdom, the ABC theater chain. So this was not studio produced, but it's a similar kind of thing. They produced these portraits of the stars playing in the movies that they were exhibiting, regardless of which studio they came from. So this is I never saw these before. These recently came up, and this is the one of Barbara Stanwyck. I've got a few more. One of Betty Davis and Dane Clark. And
Love it.
so this is probably from her late 30s, mid 40s period, I would think. So that begins the show today, and the next poster is the biggest, and it's the one of one of her great performances in The Lady Eve, and at the Academy showing, there were two movies that had more than one image from them, from different countries. The Lady Eve posters were the United States, France, and Denmark. And they all had basically the same image of Barbara Stanwyck and Henry, kind of smothering Henry Fonda with the apple, the Adam and Eve, Garden of Eden metaphor. And but the one from Denmark was always my favorite. Actually, I just realized was done by my favorite Danish artist, Benny Stilling, who had a great sense of color. And the reason I like this the best is that it really concentrates on them, and it also places you in the Garden of Eden with the green. None of the other posters have green in them. I'm trying to go back.
That green is incredible.
Gorgeous.
And then at the top, you can see that it's still in the Garden of Eden because you've got the leaves and a little bit of another apple, of red apple on top, which it contrasts with, which continues the whole eating the apple, taking a bite of the apple theme of the poster and Adam and Eve.
Did any of the American versions of that poster touch on the Garden of Eden in that way?
Well, not in this way. None of them had a green background. They had the apple, and they have the figure of Stanwyck and Henry Fonda. Actually, she looks sexier in this version than any other because they show her full-length legs. I mean, and talk about sex appeal. She really conveys it in this in this poster.
Absolutely. And I think a huge bit of credit too goes to Edith Head, who collaborated with her and really knew how to bring out Barbara's absolute best features as well.
So this is one of her great films and one of the great performances. And this is a great poster, I think, for a great movie. And it's very rare that you can have that synthesis where the poster is as good as the movie is. It's very rare. There are great movies, there are great posters, but rarely do they come together.
That makes sense.
This is, in my estimation, an example of.
Did you restore some of these, Mike, or were they in this condition?
No, well, they've all been restored, not all of them, but this was in pretty good condition to begin with. This was just placed on linen, which smooths out any wrinkles and preserves it.
Beautiful.
So that's one of my favorites, and I thought it was a good one to begin with. Now the rest are going to be sort of in chronological order, and they're going to be two main sizes that you'll be seeing. One will be the lobby card size, and lobby cards were a series of 8 lobby cards that were in the individual theaters showing scenes of the film, and the most desired of those 8 cards is usually the title card, which is like a small poster because it's got the name of the film and the credits on it, and usually artwork that resembles images that they've used on the bigger poster. So this is her first film with Frank Capra from 1930. It's Ladies of Leisure. And it's got kind of a generic showgirl holding the title of the movie, and then Barbara Stanwyck is pictured in the circle photographs on the top and the bottom. This is very rare. I've never seen another copy of it, so I was just lucky to find that.
And I believe you can find that movie in the early Capra box set too.
Yeah. I don't have that. I should get it though, because there are about 4 or 5 of Stanwyck movies in that.
Yeah.
All her Capra films were amazing up through Tondo.
Yeah. So this is
really went together.
This is Ladies of Leisure as in the title card, and this is Ladies of Leisure in the other side, title card size, which are now window cards were not usually seen in theaters. They were made to be placed in stores around the theater, and on the top they would advertise the name of the theater and the dates that they would be playing. And I think what would happen was that the owners of those stores would get free tickets to the movie if they put it in the window. And they're terrific size because you can frame them and you can have a lot of window cards that would take up probably 6 regular size posters, and with a limited amount of wall space that most people have. And mine are very limited now because I've got too many posters on them.
I love the Art Deco design of that. I think this is my favorite one of all the ones you've shown me because it's so Art Deco.
Yeah. And this is interesting also because in a lot of the posters, you won't see the top at all because I framed it, because a lot of the times the printing of it was very, they didn't print it, they just scrawled across with lettering that was kind of unattractive and detracted from the artwork. And I'm mainly interested in the artwork. So this is, I think that two copies of this this one and another one that I've ever seen. And so this is from 1930, it's early Capra. And then the next from 1931 is the Miracle Woman about Amy Semple McPherson, and this is again this has had some restoration on.
I love that movie.
But it's one of the great Stanwyck Capra movies for sure.
Yeah, I really love that movie, and it didn't do very well at the box office, but she is just so beautiful, and so I think it's a great movie, just in general.
Well, I think I didn't know how it did at the box office, but I know its reputation today is certainly on a very high level. And I've never seen a one sheet of it. This is it's very rare to find anything on this title at all.
Beautiful layout on that poster. I love it.
Good, yeah. And so this is from 1931. Now, next from 1931 is. Hope I get this right. I gotta look at my chronology. This is Night Nurse,
Yes.
which is a wonderful movie that I've seen, and it's got Clark Gable in it as a heavy. I guess he was loaned out from MGM to Columbia for it, and or was it Warner Brothers? I'm not sure. And again, this is extremely rare. And it's Joan Blondell and Stanwyck play off each other really beautifully in it as well, I think.
And undress off each other really beautifully, as Laura has pointed out.
It put the pre and pre-code, that's for sure.
The pre-code of all pre-codes.
Yeah. Anyway, there we are with Night Nurse. Again, very rare. There are probably 2 or 3 copies of this that I've seen. And all these movies from the early 30s of her, it's really difficult finding material on it. And when it comes up, it's everyone who collects gets a little, buzz in their stomach. Get it. All right. So now let me get, shop worn. So we're back to a lobby card size. I've got a great Swedish poster shop, but it's a wonderful, it's an airbrush headshot of her, but it's also got a wonderful colored background that highlights her face. And
That's an amazing poster. It looks modern. It looks like it's from like yesterday.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's because it's very simple, and the background is very it's very decorative with the lines of blue, and then she's wearing that fur top, and her it's just beautifully designed, and her face is just so strong. It's just very simple and effective.
Yeah, really center stage for
Yeah.
Stanwyck.
Yeah. All right, So Big is next. This
Oh,
is
we love that movie. That was one of our ones we watched during the pandemic.
So Big.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it actually, but
we
this
got to.
what's interesting about this campaign is that aside from an insert, which is a 14 by 36 size of movie, everything on this title just shows the title of the film, So Big. And this lobby card, I think, is the best example of how that decision was used, because they've got like 3 different significant type styles on the poster with her name across the top, and then the kind of artwork, 3-dimensional title treatment of So Big, and then the curving of the Edna Ferber reference below. So it's an extremely dynamic image without any people on it. But she certainly is what's selling the movie because of the size of her name and where it is and everything. What's interesting here is that Betty Davis is in the movie as well. She has a smaller role. And there's a story that I read that both Barbara Stanwyck was also very anxious to play Jezebel, and the role went to Betty Davis. And she called, after she saw the movie, she wanted to speak to her, and she called her house 2 or 3 times, and her maid or whoever answered said that, like she can't come to the phone now, she's resting, or she's sleeping. And so the 3rd or 4th time that Barbara Stanwyck called her, the Davis house, they told her, well, she's sleeping and she can't come to the phone. And Barbara Stanwyck reportedly says, well, when Sleeping Beauty awakes, tell her I saw her Jezebel and I thought she was wonderful.
Aw.
Oh, wow. That's rare, someone that would do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I love that story. Here's one
Very
of the,
sure. That's very Stanwyck.
yeah. I'm trying to figure what comes up next. I'm in, yeah. This is from 1931 also, another camper. This is Forbidden. And this I've got framed on the wall. You're going to get a little bit of a reflection, but this is a stunning portrait of her color-wise.
I love that pink.
Oh,
It's the pink and the green, and I like to experiment with framing, and I don't know if you can tell, but on the frame, half of the frame is that kind of minty green, and the other kind of is that rose pink, which are reflecting the colors in
oh.
Mike, is there a studio whose artwork you think is really top of the line, or you like them all?
I like them all, but my favorite is my studio favorite of all is Warner Brothers from like 1929 to like 36 or 37. The next one will be an example of them. They're very elegant. They have a very, you'll see it. I'll describe it on the next poster, but that's my favorite. But I mean, there's nothing better. I mean, this is a gorgeous piece. I mean, the colors are just stunning. And again, it's early Capra. And next, now we're gonna, So Big, Forbidden. Okay. All right. Here is an example of Warner Brothers, and I framed it a little bit differently because this is a film called Ever in My Heart. I don't know this film. I think it's, I don't know how successful it was, but it's a favorite film of Victoria Wilson, who wrote the first, this massive Barbara Stanwyck biography. She's going to do part 2, which will be just as extensive. And she's always mentioned, do you have anything ever in my heart? And this window card came up in the last year, and it was a real fight to get it. And again, this is from Warner Brothers. The other there's some other great ones from Warner Brothers that she did as well. Lady in Red, I think Babyface, Woman in Red, sorry. The Secret Bride. They're all stunning. And here you can see when I'm talking about how the credits are placed. I mean, usually, you know, all the credits are down below. All the supporting credits are in this area here. Stanwyck, of course, is the name that comes across the biggest because she's a star. And then the supporting, and the other additional credits are below. And the colors that they use are all complementary and all different. And they all lend to the dynamic of the poster and the kind of image of she and Ralph Bellamy. It's just a very beautiful design, I think.
Boy, and the treatment of the word Stanwyck that screams star, 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 which makes me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, they would do that with Garbo.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers would do that with Cagney. They later with Betty Davis as well. So they knew how to, you know, what they were selling. And this was Stanwyck.
One thing that I think is kind of interesting about Barbara Stanwyck's career is that her star grew independently from her movies. Like her movies might not have been such a big hit, but she was always a hit. And so her star power grew with every movie she made, even if the movies themselves didn't do very well.
Which probably couldn't happen today. You're so right.
Yeah.
Well, she was such a presence, so you went to see her, so she would always have that fan base, no matter what she was in, because that would build from that if it was a great movie or if it was not as successful as the big hits. Now here's a movie I really want to see. It's from 1935, and this is interesting to see because here's a window card. It needs some restoration, and you can see where they just scribbled on top, you know, where it was going to be shown and what the dates were. You can hardly even see it, but that's why when I get a window card that has this unattractive writing on the top, I don't want to see it. I frame it with a mat around it, so you're just concentrating on the artwork itself. And this is from 1935, and it's supposed to be in the It Happened One Night genre. She's playing the daughter of a wealthy general who is attracted to the leader of the local Communist Party when they were when he was proselytizing on campus, and the father wants her to doesn't want her to be attracted to him, and gets a soldier to kidnap her and take her to Mexico. And so the whole idea of a communist protest in this movie in 1935 is very rare, and I'm really dying to see it. Has anyone seen this movie?
I haven't either. Laura?
I didn't know if it's available, but anyways, 1935. It was evidently done by an independent studio and released by United. I think it's United Artists. Yeah, it's released by United Artists, and she and Robert Young are supposed to be very, very funny together. So this is what I've just read. I did some more reading about it. This was her first comedy.
Wow, look for that immediately.
So that's really, I want to get that. But you can see the artwork is it's very good artwork. And if I put it up there and you don't see the scroll on top, you can see what it can look like when it's all fixed up. I'm just going back and forth. Red salute. This is the other different size that we've got. Now this is, I don't know if you can see it. This is from 1935. This is a terrific movie. I mean, she is just fabulous is Annie Oakley. And
Uh,
and one of the best poster for it was exhibited in both the Academy show and at LACMA. It's a full-length 3-sheet of her holding the gun and pointing out at you. It's just a stunning. I don't have it here, and I couldn't show it here anyway. I couldn't hang it; it's too big. But it's just a great, great poster. This is the British trade ad for the movie, which was designed. The trade ads were designed to attract exhibitors to see the movie at the trade shows and then book it. Actually, I didn't just realize this. It leads off with this, and then opens up into the double truck and says. She was an amazing girl, which can apply to Stanwyck as well as to Annie Oakley. And then it opens up to this double truck. And I love the logo of the kind of the bullet holes. The British trades were very large. They were like the size of the old size of Variety. Now everything is shrunk down. But this is the size of the British trades. And so they could do elaborate double truck trade ads.
all right. But Mike, you said you do have some 3 sheets. Do you even have any 6 sheets?
I have a few 6 sheets, but I don't have. They are really difficult to. They were in the exhibit.
Oh,
at-
how did I miss that?
I can't remember which ones were in either exhibit. I don't have a lot of them. The first one I bought, which I wanted to go to the Academy Museum, is a 6-sheet of Harold Lloyd and Movie Crazy. And it's just a very deco image of her and it's him. It says Movie Crazy, which is what everyone is about who's into movies.
When you did the centennial thing at LACMA, were there people there that came that knew Stanwyck?
There were a few. The one that I remember the most, and I thought I had this is the brochure that they produced from it. And this in the back, you can see, that's a great.
Oh, I love that one.
In red. That's from Warner Brothers again. And then there's a great one inside of Babyface, which was the first time anyone had seen that poster. Let me see if I can do that. It's a terrific poster also. And there's Babyface. If you can see.
So who was the person?
It was Kirk Douglas.
Oh.
And he was there and he went up to the Strange Loves of Martha Ivers poster. That was his first film. And he smiled when he saw it and he started talking about that was his first movie. And he was going to be in a movie with Barbara Stanwyck, and what a big star Barbara Stanwyck was. So it was a major breakthrough for him because he was in a Barbara Stanwyck movie. But he's the only one that I kind of remember there. And this is The Bride Walks Out. This is really a rare poster also. The colors in it are wonderful. It's from RKO. It's from 1936. And again, it's the window card. This is interesting because I had it in a plastic sleeve and I just took it out, and the colors are so vibrant that they're lost when they're in the plastic. It's the one poster that I felt that the plastic really detracted from the impact. And you can see the difference now this is the title card, which is sort of ordinary. It doesn't have any of the artwork on it. And this is the title card for The Bride Walks Out. And it's okay, but there's nothing special about it compared to that.
There's really a story here in looking at these advertisements and these posters and window cards, lobby cards, how they sold the movie, how they sold the stars, how they did it in different countries, different cities, different markets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of foreign ones here, except for, well, there'll be some from Belgium, except from the Danish one. But each country at that point was able to, let me leave this one up. It's more interesting to look at while I'm talking. each country were not obligated to use the American campaign if they didn't feel it was correct for their market. So they would devise, hire their own artists and do their own artwork and campaigns to tailor it to what they thought their audience wanted, as opposed to what they were receiving from the studios. That's why we get a variety of images of a particular film, because each country could produce what they wanted if they didn't want the American design.
And the American studio didn't even have to approve it?
They didn't know, because it was the local distributor who of MGM or Fox or Warner Brothers who was making that decision, and they knew their market, and they were the ones who were responsible for the success of the movie. And if they felt that the campaign from America wasn't correct, they changed it.
Yeah, it's in America's interest to let them do that too.
Yeah, and today, of course, everything is different, because everything goes out automatically, almost
Right.
all, every country, all at the same time, and it's all the same. Bride walks out, his brother's wife. Oh, this is interesting. Now, where is his brother's wife? I just saw it too. No, that's not it. Just a second, give me a second here. Wow, I don't know what happened to it. Miss Manton, I think. Well,
No worries. I know you've got a lot of stuff there, so it's probably a tremendous.
Okay, here it is. This is interesting because it's the first film that she made with Robert Taylor, in 1936. And that's the title card from MGM, which is pretty, MGM was not noted for the great poster design, but this is pretty interesting. They've got a lot of color in it, and it's very dynamic, and it's got the two of them in two different, one in a clinch and one walking together. And they also did a special trade ad, who their main artist, house artist, Vincentini, did the artwork for. And I love this this painting that he did of the two of them, and it says the title is above her title. Aren't you thrilled, Bob? Our picture's a sensation at the box office, and he says that goes without saying, Barbara. It's a Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer picture, and I think what that is about also is that he was under contract at MGM, of course, and she was independent. She went from various studios. So he's signaling to her that, all MGM pictures are big box office success. But I love the painting of the two of them together.
They weren't married yet there, were they?
I don't think so. I think it was they were married before the second film they did together, which is called This Is My Affair, or I can't remember it.
They married in 37.
Okay, but they may have met on that film.
I don't know if they met on that film, but they obviously, I think, fell in love on that film.
And that may be one of the examples of the posters more interesting than the film, because that first one is not the best film. Of course, she's always great to watch.
Yeah. Although he says it's a big success because it's MGM, of course.
Naturally.
The MGM publicists were so subtle.
All right, let me see what else we've got here. Oh, I don't know what happened to it. Oh, this is the Mad Miss Manton, which was the first film that she did in Fonda.
Yes.
And I just got it because it's Stanwyck. I mean, it's not the most exciting piece of art, but it helps. It's okay, and it's the first film with him.
Such a great title.
Yeah. Then we come to Golden Boy in the late 30s. And this is I've got two images of that. This is the window card. And it's another example where they printed some of the title information over the top of the artwork, which is distracting. But other than that, if I get this restored, I'm gonna try to get him to take all of this off, so at least it's clean with the red down. And this is more traditional. This is not the most exciting piece of art, but it's Golden Boy, so which is a great movie, I think.
Which of course she's responsible for starting William Holden's career and really standing up for him.
Right, and acknowledged him when she got her honorary Oscar too.
Oh, I watched that yesterday, just thinking about her for today, and I just sobbed the way she said, I am, because he had already died so young, and she dedicated it to him, her Golden Boy, this Golden Boy. Oh, you have to watch that.
Yeah.
Oh,
My golden boy, you got your wish.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just such a gracious way of acknowledging it and him. And this is the title card of it, which is much more excitingly designed or artistically designed than the window card, which is unusual because usually the window cards are better. But this is you can see there, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, that's a vast improvement.
Yeah. I mean, they've got, they kind of kept the title treatment with the G and the B particularly individually designed, but it's much better than the the window card. The very good one is from Sweden, which I don't have here. It was in the exhibit. It's one of the few posters from Golden Boy, which I don't understand, that's also show him as a boxer. So I don't know why they didn't include that in the American campaign, but they didn't. And then we're nearing the end. Golden Boy, Lady Eve, we've done. Meet John Doe. Meet John Doe. Now, this is one of my favorite. I don't know if you can see it. One of my favorite framing creations, because by the 40s, Warner Brothers would have their artwork or photographs kind of in the middle in the size of the Meet John Doe artwork here. And on top of the bottom, it was just white. So this poster was really unattractive when you saw it just with the white on top and bottom, because it was taking away from the artwork, which is really very elegant and subtle and effective with the dark color. So the way it's framed, I think, really accentuates how good the artwork is, and your eyes go directly to them, even though the images are kind of small, they stand out, I mean, at least for me. And it's part of, I think, Warner Brothers' elegant tradition when you do it this way.
But I love that you never, is that just being the purist that you are, you never cut that top white part off when you?
Oh, no. Well, in the beginning, in the very beginning, if I got a poster and the artwork and it had the ugly writing on it, I would, but I quickly learned not to do that because that diminishes the value of it. Mm. And so that even though this is covered in all of the posters, the size of the frame and the size of the one sheet of the window card is there. I wouldn't cut it or change it at all.
Clever way to do it.
Yeah. And this is, we're going to go now to the other foreign country that's represented. And this is and that's Belgium. And Belgian posters they're kind of like really movie. They have full artwork and they're very enticing. And this is the Belgian poster for Meet John Doe, right? And it's totally different, of course, from the more somber American poster, but the artwork is really lovely, I think.
And they always have the titles in French and Flemish. I can't quite see the French title.
Yeah, the French title is John Doe, L'Homme de la Rue.
Interesting.
And that's the French title, and the Flemish is John Doe. Well, you'll see at the bottom. I can't pronounce it really. And then it also gives you the English title, so you know what the American title is as well.
It looks
So
like
they
the
always-
French and the Flemish title are the same.
Yeah,
L'Homme de la Rue is a real
well,
statement.
a little bit
Yeah.
different. They've got, I can't remember, the last three words are a little different, I think.
Yeah, but man from the street
Mm.
is what it says in both French and Flemish.
Oh, well, you're a scholar and know that.
And Laura speaks multiple
She
languages.
speaks like 12 languages perfectly.
No, well, great. Well, I'll have to call on you for translation. Anyway, so these are very colorful. Again, here they printed a lot of they printed a lot of the theater information on top. So if I get this framed, I'll have the restorer do a mat around it so you just see the artwork. But again, I've never seen this one before. This is the only, and I wasn't going to get it because I've gotten Me John Doe from that wonderful American one, but there was just something about it and the use of purple and especially, which is a rare color for to be used in any poster that is here.
Mike, would you be ready for us to open the floor online to take some questions?
Yeah, I just have a few though, if that's okay.
You have what?
I just have a few more to show you.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And these are all from Belgium. And let me just. One interesting thing about Belgium is that their posters right after the war, there was a paper shortage in Belgium. So a lot of the movie posters were printed on the backs of maps. And
Oh,
this is an example. This is the map.
wow.
Isn't that great?
And then the poster is Flesh and Fantasy. And you can see.
Wow.
You can see how dynamic and rich and
Whoa.
lush and tasty they are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's the map. And there's the poster.
Amazing.
So that's an interesting aspect of this collecting addiction. And then here is, this is a really, the likenesses are so rich again. This is the two Mrs. Carols. And they really have got the expressions of Bogart is fantastic, beautifully done. And so is Stanwyck. And it's just, again, it's rich. It doesn't have any kind of specific graphic design necessarily, but it's just so beautifully put together.
The colors stay so vivid over the decades.
Yeah. And on the back of it is 52. This is Clash by Night. And this is the best rendering. That artwork is used in a lot of countries. But again, here it's just much more vivid and lush and dynamic.
One of Marilyn Monroe's first films, but she's not depicted there, is she?
She's not no,
She
Robert.
wasn't a star yet. She
What?
was just a little player. She wasn't anything. She wasn't Marilyn Monroe. I mean,
But Barbara saw the future. Barbara.
yeah, and what I think is really interesting about that movie too is that you can see the chemistry between them, like the understanding that they had of each other. And Marilyn Monroe said that Barbara Stanwyck was the only actress from sort of the old Hollywood who really accepted her and was kind to her.
Oh.
And
Hey,
yeah, and they had a similar background too, you know, both foster children.
Yeah.
all right.
Childhoods.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. There's that one. And these were all at the Academy, by the way. This is My Reputation, which they don't quite have her likeness, but it's an interesting poster anyway.
That's still Belgian?
Yeah. And the last Belgian is 40 Guns. And what's interesting about this is that Belgium is the only country that when CinemaScope and widescreen came to be a bit major selling point. They changed the format of their poster from horizontal to vertical to emulate the widescreen effect.
Art.
So all of their, and I don't think anyone's talked about that before. So all of the films that were in CinemaScope or VistaVision or whatever the equivalents were, all had the horizontal format. Occasionally, some of them had both, like Solomon and Sheba, some of the big spectacles. But so this is an example of widescreen Belgium.
Love it.
And then, so I think that's it, but I wanted to just show you a couple of things that I've been involved with recently, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely.
And I want to, I've always wanted to, I've done several, well, about 10 different dance poster exhibits. At the California Heritage Museum, I did 2 at Jacob's Pillow in the Berkshires, which is the most important dance venue in America, and the National Museum of Dance and Lincoln Center. But I've always wanted to do a series of posters, to create a series of posters that, that show dance scenes that have never been seen on a poster before. So I've done 2 of them so far. The first one is for Folies Bergère from 1935, which was the first film to win the Oscar for choreography. There was only a category that lasted for 3 years. And the film was Folies Bergère with, it was the last kind of major film of Maurice Chevalier. And Dave Gould was a cinematographer, and he wanted for this amazing Busby Berkeley-like final extravaganza that was all done in a straw hat motif, which was Maurice Chevalier's trademark. So you've got hundreds of dancing girls on this huge straw hat, and it ends with Maurice Chevalier and Anne Southern, who's one of the 2 leading ladies, dancing together on top of the straw hat. So this is the first poster in that series, which I think certainly captures that scene and is of the period, and it also has a little bit of a modern sensibility.
You say that's an upcoming exhibition, Mike?
Well, I don't know if it's going to, it's a series of posters. I'm only doing 4. I mean, I'm financing them myself, and we'll probably make a limited edition of the 4. And we'll be, you know, I think I'm going to talk to the Academy. I don't know if, you know, we'll work anything out, that they should offer them as an exclusive just that the Academy could sell. But I think this came out really well. It was done with an artist from Parsons, Bart Yang. I had never spoken to him on the phone except once. We did everything by computer and by email, which I had never done before. And so, and he was recommended by an old friend, Kate Johnson, who was a great editor who recently passed away. Anyway, there's that, the Folies Bergère. And the second one is has a lot of contemporary reference, I think, because it's the only poster to show Bill Robinson and Shirley Temple dancing on the stairs. And they never were able to, Fox never put them together on a poster because of the racial situation and Southern box office. So they've never been, you know, it's one of the great dance sequences and a great dance team. So I think this is very relevant given the political climate today.
They were magic together on screen.
Yeah, so I think this captures it. I mean, this is the first time it's been seen, and along the bottom, I don't know if we can make this out. It's kind of like emulating the side of the New Yorker magazine, where they always have a colored strip along the side. But here, in here, there are kind of silhouettes. I don't know if that's the right description of very small images of the 2 of them dancing together, as well as on the stairs. So I think this is, I'm really happy with this. And this was done by an artist who does kind of other kinds of jobs and never did a poster before. His name is Jose Luna Alvarez, and it was an excellent working relationship, and he's probably going to do another one as well. So those are the two, and the last thing is just a little private thing that I did. Among the things that I do, which I've kept private, is that I've composed music, which I've always not done anything about for various reasons. And 52 years ago, when I was the marketing strategist on 2001: A Space Odyssey, there was an attempt by MGM Records to do a single to capitalize on the film, which was a preposterous idea, I thought. How could you do a single for 2001, especially when the music in that film is the most inventive music, I think, in any movie ever. But Stanley found out that I wrote music and said, well, why don't you try something? And I told him that I kind of write standards. I couldn't even approach this. But he planted the seed and gave me his, what I call, that's not good enough look with it. I try to make an excuse. And eventually I did it, and it wasn't used, but it was a way of interpreting the movie on the film's various levels, and what it could mean to different people. And by luck or serendipity, this new record company in England, Wave Theory Records, I was dealing with them on something else. I just told him I had written this, and he loved it. And
let's see it, Mike.
And this is the jacket for it, and it's coming out on vinyl. It was supposed to be on vinyl this month, but because of the shortage of
The shipping crisis and stuff.
yeah, with rubber and whatever they need to make vinyl, it's probably going to be January now. But that's the jacket for the vinyl, and there's also a kind of a link to an interview that I'm talking about how it all happened.
Send me the link, Mike. I would be happy to share it with people and post about it. And let's open up the floor for questions. Ruth, what are people wanting to ask us?
So one person asked, Isabella Sanders, she asked, are all of your posters mainly from the US, or do you just have a smattering of US and American and European?
Well, half the collection is American and the other half is foreign. And in the beginning, I didn't realize that you can even get foreign posters. I didn't realize you can get old movie posters, let alone foreign ones. And so I just fell in love with the design. So if the foreign poster had a great design and I knew the film, all the better. If I didn't know the film, I just responded to the design, assuming that they had captured something of the movie. So it's like a split. And all of the exhibits were pretty much 50-50.
Catherine Bird has a question, and hers is, what was your first movie purchase?
The first movie purchase, well, there was, the first movie purchase was, when I found out about movie posters, and I loved movie posters. I loved posters to begin with. I loved theater posters. I loved movie posters. Couldn't get them until I started working in publicity at studios. By that point, most of the new posters were kind of mediocre. It was like the 60s, and there was like all the best artwork was on record jackets. So I decided, I had gotten a few, and I decided not to collect any. This was like the mid 60s, because it would become an addiction. I could see myself, just.
We have no idea what you're talking about, Mike. We wouldn't know. It's all new to us. So.
Just a finder of barbers.
Yeah, there you go. So what happened was that I was in LA in the 70s working with Bob Altman, I guess. And I had to get a present for someone. And I went into this memorabilia shop called Chickaboom, which was on Melrose. And I went in and they had a whole stack of movie posters against the wall. And the first one was of a film called Irish Eyes Are Smiling. It was a musical with June Haver. And June Haver was one of the three actresses I had a crush on growing up. And so it was a stone litho of her in this Irish costume doing an Irish jig. And I thought it was well designed. And I bought it. And that was the beginning of the collection. So it's all,
Gateway drug.
yeah, it's all due to June Haver.
So our friend
Hey,
Barbara.
everybody, I'm sorry to do this, but I'm gonna have to go because I have something to do at 2:30. But thank you all so much.
Thank you for joining us, Laura.
Yeah, this was wonderful. Mike is so fascinating.
Yes,
I
I knew you
love
would love
all of
being
your
here.
posters and everything you have to say. It's just so great. So I'm so glad that you joined us.
All right, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay,
Laura.
bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
What's the next question?
So Barbara, our friend Barbara, she has a question, and hers is, how many posters do you have total in your collection?
There's several thousand.
Wow.
Oh, that's huge. Wow.
Our friend Catherine Bird, she says, can I be named in your will for the collection?
I'm sure that's not the first time Mike has been asked such things.
That opens up a whole can of peas. I can't get into that now.
Benjamin in Germany, his question is, were Barbara and Joan Crawford great friends? Does anyone know that?
I don't know that.
I don't know. I don't
I
know
think
that.
they were because I'm kind of obsessed with Joan, but I've seen her and Barbara Stanwyck in a polo tournament together.
Okay.
And I think they did have a friendship, actually. Yeah.
That I don't know. I know that she was very private and
Yeah.
did very few interviews. I do know because I was friendly with Ann Southern, who I mentioned to you, and I know that she was. Ann Southern said that we never did drugs during our when we were there. We had these roller skating parties, and she always mentioned that Barbara Stanwyck. She was friendly with Barbara Stanwyck and James Cagney and Ray Milland, and but that's all I know really about her private.
Mike, do you have any like coffee table books of your collection? Is that something you might do?
I've got two. They're not quite coffee table books, but they're like coffee table books. They're both on the dance exhibit. One is called Gotta Dance, and the second is called Gotta Dance 2. And the first one is pretty much out of print. I've got a few copies of the second. There may be some in LA. There's a store called Arcana Books in Culver City, and they were carrying them. And then LACMA, when I did the exhibit, I had another smaller edition of called the Heavies, and they had that as the catalog, and that sold quite well. So I've got to get them all reprinted, but I've got
You want to see every single poster in your collection.
Here's a question or a comment. Catherine Bird asking, there's a Titanic window card with Barbara on eBay for $700. Worth it?
No, I think that's too high.
Good advice.
From the master.
Yes.
Thank you. Best possible person.
I would say half that price.
Okay.
Well, how about who are some other classic film stars that you might have in your collection?
Well, I have, almost all of the classic ones. I have, I like to some degree, and depending on what the artwork looks like, I have quite a few on all of them, including Cary Grant. I've got two Cary Grant ones if you want to see them, Ruth.
Ruth, hop on over here. Get in the frame.
Does Ruth want to see her Cary Grant?
She'll pass over it.
I'm not camera ready today.
Get ready to.
This is 1934.
Whoa.
This is called Kiss and Makeup,
Oh.
and it's very rare.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
And it's Cary Grant and Genevieve Tobin from Paramount.
Beautiful.
And then here's a later one from the 40s, which is a film I like of him. I like the poster too of Mr. Lucky.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Love that movie.
So I just went upstairs to find a couple because I knew Ruth would enjoy them.
That is gorgeous, gorgeous.
Any
Thank
other-
you.
Any other questions about coming
what-
in, Ruth? From the internet?
Someone asked, do you have any Harlow?
I have Harlow. I have one framed upstairs of the girl from Missouri.
Oh.
And there's a great one from Germany that I want to get restored of Saratoga. Because that was her last film, and it's really rich in the American posters for that film aren't very good. Most of MGM's posters during that period, the 30s, had a white background, and they were all kind of you had the two stars, and they're kind of boring. They were basically, they didn't have a great style. There were a few like Red-Headed Woman with Jean Harlow. That's stunning. That's kind of a variation of different reds. And there's a Hedy Lamarr from the early 40s called Crossroads, which has got a kind of raspberry background. But most of them are white, and some of them are done, with Vincentini Artwork, who did the Stanwyck, Robert Taylor image that we talked about. But most of them, they just they don't have anything else besides the stars. 20th Century Fox had great stone lithography and filled every inch of their posters with atmosphere. So you knew what you were, whether it was Suez or Jesse James or Betty Grable or Sonia Henney or whatever, you knew the period, you got a flavor for it, and they were very rich. MGM was very clean and pristine and boring, I thought, for most of them. And then
every surface of your house covered in posters? Do you have them all over the walls?
pretty much, except for one room, which is sacrosanct.
Mike, I was told to get in the will.
Well, this has been absolutely fascinating. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. This was really a treat to get to glimpse into your collection.
Which has to be the premier collection in the world of movie posters. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that I'll have a few more exhibits so people can enjoy them. That's my main goal.
Well, now that the Academy Museum is open, get over here.
Well, that's another whole other issue that I'm in the middle of. So
Okay.
we'll see.
All right, Ruth, any other questions?
That's it,
That's it.
Everyone's
I
had a
wanted to
great
show,
time.
not that it can compare in any way to Mike's collection, but we have this starring Barbara Stanwyck with her beautiful signature in there, twice actually.
I'll hold it up to
So I
the,
love to think that Barbara touched this very book.
I know that signature. Actually, I know that signature. I'll leave you with this. With the Whales of August, the ideal cast was always going to be Betty Davis and Lillian Gish. It was made for Lillian actually. And Betty Davis turned it down at one point, and then we didn't. The first person that I thought of was Barbara Stanwyck, and it took a while to get to her through Shirley Eder, who was a columnist in Detroit, I think, who was close to her, who I knew. And she eventually sent me back a note saying she didn't want to do it, but the signature was exactly like that. It's like all across one line, and it's very, very elegant.
The movie star signature.
Yeah, and anyway, then it didn't seem that Betty could do it because she had a stroke, and then she came back, and then she wasn't all together, but she did in the end when we finally had the money. So
It's a beautiful film.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like a child to me. It was a long time happening. So anyway.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
and Danny, do you want to show off your binder? Danny and I both wound up going to this estate sale Danny tipped me off to a few months back, and Epic is putting it mildly of
This
how
guy
epic this
was the
sale
collector,
was.
John Paul. Oh, I mean, this is in my child's bedroom, and he's got some hanging on the wall as well. Just endless photos of Barbara Stanwyck, and the computer is actually sitting on a box full of more Barbara Stanwyck stuff, including the press book for Remember the Night, so we can see all the different posters.
Oh my gosh.
I can share some of those with you, but yeah, we love Barbara here.
Yes.
Well, she's one to be loved. So it was great doing it. It was great putting this together. And you know, I don't see these posters all the time, so it was wonderful doing it. So I appreciate it too.
Well, Mike,
Thank you
thank
so
you
much.
so much. Ruth Munsack, thank you for helping behind the scenes. Laura Gabriel in San Francisco, thank you for being here. And Danny, thank you for once again letting me invade your house, invade your kitchen, and thank you for being my friend and co-host.
Anytime.
All right, so Merry Christmas from all of us. Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, all of the happies for all of the holidays. So
From Hollywood Kitchen.
from Hollywood Kitchen to all of you, thank you so much and happy holidays.